My sister pointed a gun at me and said, "Sign the papers or else." My father stood by the door, his arms folded, his silence like a stone pressing on the room. He didn't move to stop her, didn't open his mouth, didn't even blink. He just watched. I didn't pick up the pen. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. Instead, I let the corner of my mouth curl into the smallest, calmest smile. My voice stayed steady as I said, "Look at this." Her eyes flicked over, following the tilt of my head. She saw it instantly. The black dot in the corner of the ceiling, its faint red light glowing. The blood drained from her face, her confidence cracking in seconds. 5 beats passed. Then a sound tore through the air, louder than any of us expected. A sharp, ringing bang that shook the walls. And just like that, the day ended. But where it began, it looked harmless, almost forgettable. Just another family gathering. We'd rented a small, unremarkable house on the outskirts of the city. Nothing fancy, just beige painted walls, a sagging porch, mismatched chairs around a table already set when I walked in. The kind of place you'd book for a weekend retreat if you wanted cheap and practical, not cozy. It had that hollow, impersonal feel of a place meant for strangers. A rental with someone else's dishes in the cupboards, someone else's curtains hanging too low. Mom was in the kitchen the moment I stepped inside, bustling like she was auditioning for a homemaker role she didn't quite know how to play. Paper bags lined the counter, filled with the kind of groceries you buy when you don't want to cook but don't want to look lazy either. Bread, bananas, packets of deli meat, a family-size bag of chips. She was arranging them as if we were about to entertain guests, not sit down as 4 people who barely knew how to talk to each other anymore. "Hi, honey," she called, too brightly, her voice pitched just a little too high. She turned, smiling, as though all of this awkward reunion, this forced setting, was perfectly natural. Behind her came Dad, hauling a heavy cooler. He moved with the slow, deliberate steps of a man who never rushed unless he absolutely had to. His face gave nothing away, no warmth, no coldness. Just Dad. He nodded once, brief and practical, as though we'd run into each other in a hardware store aisle. And then came my sister. She breezed in like she owned the place. Sunglasses perched on her head, hair brushed until it shone, perfume trailing her like a flag of victory. She leaned close, kissed the air beside my cheek, and said, "Glad you made it," with the kind of smile that looked friendly but landed sharp. For a while, it almost felt ordinary. A family day. Mom laid food out in her usual way. Too much of everything. Plates crowding the table until there was no room left for elbows. Dad took his familiar seat at the head, claiming it by habit rather than ceremony. My sister filled the air with small talk about traffic and her weekend plans, scrolling through her phone when she thought no one noticed. We even went for a walk before lunch, looping around the narrow path behind the house. A small field stretched out, dotted with wildflowers Mom pointed out like she was narrating a nature program. Dad made bland comments about the weather. My sister drifted behind, her thumbs tapping at her phone. From the outside, we must have looked like a family enjoying a calm Saturday. From the inside, it felt like a performance. 4 people walking together, but each alone in their heads. Back at the house, Mom unpacked the food onto plates. Sandwiches cut into neat triangles, chips poured into a big glass bowl, fruit piled into a centerpiece like she was arranging it for a photo. She slid a plate toward me with a forced cheer. "Eat something," she said. "I already ate," I replied. She laughed, quick and brittle, but I caught the flicker in her eyes. She wanted the picture of perfection, the illusion of family harmony, even if we were all fraying at the seams. We sat. We ate. The only sounds were forks tapping plates and glasses being set down. That silence, the kind that sneaks in and expands, was heavy. Then my sister spoke. Light, casual, too casual. "So, are you going to do something fun with the inheritance?" The word dropped like a weight into the middle of the table. Inheritance. Mom's eyes dropped to her plate. Dad took a slow sip of water. My sister didn't blink, her eyes pinning me in place, bright and steady. I gave a shrug. "Haven't decided yet." Her smile twitched, not reaching her eyes. "At least you've got options. More than the rest of us." Dad cleared his throat. His voice was soft, but it carried. "Family should share. It's the right thing. I took a sip of coffee. We'll see. Mom jumped in quickly, her voice too quick, too eager. She asked about my apartment, my job, anything to steer us away from the word that had cracked open the table. But the shift had already happened. The inheritance was here now, sitting heavier than the food, louder than the silence. Lunch limped along after that. My sister's jokes carried little barbs tucked underneath. Dad stayed quiet, his gaze drifting, but his presence sharp. Mom kept offering me more fruit, more chips, more of everything, like stuffing me full would patch the gap. Then, after a pause long enough for the air to feel stale, my sister pushed her plate away. She smiled, her voice bright. Come with us. We want to show you something. Something in me tightened, but I followed. Dad rose first, his chair scraping against the floor. He didn't look at me. He just stood, waiting. My sister led the way down the hall to a spare room stripped bare of personality. Beige walls, no pictures, no decor. Just a table, 2 chairs, and a stack of papers placed neatly in the middle. This will make everything simpler, my sister said, sliding the papers across to me. Dad positioned himself near the door, arms crossed, silent. Watching, I sat. I picked up the first page. Legal words stacked like bricks. The second page, the third. By the time I exhaled, my pulse had slowed, heavy. A waiver, a transfer. Every last cent of the inheritance signed away to them. Not shared, not split. Everything. I let out a dry laugh. You're serious? You actually expect me to sign this? My sister didn't flinch. It's what he would have wanted, really. I asked, my voice sharp. Did he send you a memo? Dad's voice snapped. Don't be difficult. It's not difficult, I said flatly. It's absurd. The pen sat there waiting like a weapon. My sister nudged it closer, her smile tight. Let's be adults. We can do this quickly and with dignity. Dignity? I raised my brows. This is daylight robbery dressed up in paperwork. Her face flushed. You don't deserve it. Maybe not, I said. But I'm not signing. Her chair screeched back. She stood. Sign it. No. The word filled the room, larger than it should have been. Dad's eyes narrowed, voice low. You'll regret this. I looked him in the eye, calm, steady. I regret coming here. Then, in one smooth, practiced motion, my sister reached into her bag and pulled out a gun. The room froze. Even the low hum of the lamp seemed to cut off. From the kitchen, Mom's voice floated down the hall. Tea's almost ready. My sister leveled the gun at me. Sign the papers. Or else. Dad stayed rooted by the door, his silence like permission. I set the pen down. No, I said again. The air pressed in, heavy, stifling. Then I smiled. Calm, controlled. I lifted my hand, pointed past her to the corner of the room. Look at this. Her head snapped around. Dad's followed. Both of their eyes landed on the small black dot in the corner. Her face went pale. What is that? Is that a camera? Say hello, I said, my voice steady. You're on film. Her panic showed instantly. She spun back toward me, then to the lens. Her hands trembled. You can't, she stopped herself. The gun shook. Her voice cracked as she raised it toward the camera. Turn it off. Can't, I said. It's working just fine. Her eyes darted between me and the lens, desperate. She pulled the trigger. The bang exploded through the room, rattling the walls. In the kitchen, Mom gasped, dropping a spoon to the floor, but the camera stayed fixed. Its little red light still glowed. My sister's eyes widened, confusion twisting across her face. Dad stared at me, pale, speechless. I sat there, calm on the outside, storming on the inside. The camera kept watching, silent, steady, unblinking. If you want to understand why that day with the gun happened, you have to go back a bit. I grew up as the middle child, which already tells you everything, not the golden eldest, not the untouchable baby, just the one in between, the one who disappeared in the shuffle. So I made noise. That was my role. If I couldn't be noticed for being good, then I'd be noticed for being bad. I was the kid climbing fences, sneaking out at midnight, leaping off rooftops with an umbrella just to see if I could float. Not suicidal, just addicted to the rush, addicted to the moment someone finally had to look at me. If I came home bleeding, Mom had to put down her magazine. If I mouthed off at dinner, Dad had to look up from his plate. That was the bargain. Bad attention was better than no attention at all. My sister hated me for it. She was the older one, the perfect one, the one they bragged about at parties. Perfect grades, perfect friends, perfect life. Behind closed doors, she'd twist the knife. Why can't you get it together? No wonder they don't trust you. My younger brother was different. Not exactly close, but he saw me. He'd roll his eyes at our parents, sometimes even cover for me when I screwed up. He was the only one who made me feel less alone. By 18, I'd had enough. I packed a bag and left. No safety net, no college fund, just me and survival. And it was hard, but better than suffocating at home. The one person I truly missed was Grandpa. He wasn't like them. Where my parents cared about appearances, he didn't care at all. He wore the same shirts for years, shoes scuffed, showing up to birthdays with discount cards and a handshake that felt like he'd just finished digging a trench. Mom muttered, "He looks homeless." Dad sighed, embarrassed, but I liked him. I liked that he didn't play games, that he didn't notice or didn't care when people rolled their eyes. He told me stories about jobs, places, people, not glamorous, real, and I craved real. Sometimes I'd pay for his coffee thinking he couldn't afford it. He'd just smile, almost amused, like he knew something I didn't. He'd say things that stuck. Even if I was rich, I'd live the same. Because once people know you've got money, they stop seeing you. All they see is what they want. I thought it was a joke. Just Grandpa being Grandpa. He lived until 96. When he died, it wasn't a shock. But it hurt. Because he was the only one in that family who had really seen me. So when we got called for the will reading, none of us expected much. He never looked like he had anything. My parents went because it was procedure. My sister went out of curiosity. My brother went because he had no choice. We sat in the lawyer's office, lined up in stiff chairs that smelled faintly of dust and coffee. My sister leaned toward my brother, whispering with a smirk, "What do you think we're getting? His old trousers?" My dad chuckled. "Maybe Hissocks, the ones with the holes." Mom shook her head. "Probably some old junk he couldn't throw out." I sat there quietly, biting the inside of my cheek. They'd spent years mocking him, and here they were, still at it, even after he was gone. The lawyer came in with a folder. He cleared his throat and started reading. "Your father, your grandfather, expressed his final wishes in this document." No one leaned forward. My sister checked her nails. My mom shifted in her chair. My dad sighed. Then the lawyer said my name. He wished to leave his estate to his granddaughter. The room froze. My sister blinked, then barked out a laugh. "Her what?" "His collection of coffee mugs." My dad frowned. "What exactly did he leave her?" The lawyer adjusted his glasses. "Everything." Silence. You could have heard the carpet breathe. My sister smirked. "Everything? What?" "A couple $100. The lawyer glanced at his papers. "The estate is valued at approximately $8.5 million. The words hung there like a bad joke no one wanted to claim. Mom gasped. Dad sat up straight. My sister shook her head. "That's impossible." She snapped. He had nothing. He wore the same shirt for 10 years. He invested, the lawyer said calmly, for decades. Modest amounts, consistent growth, compounding over time. It built into a substantial fortune. My dad's face went red. "This is outrageous. I'm his son. That money should be mine." Mom nodded quickly. "Or ours, not just hers." My sister's voice sharpened. "She doesn't deserve it. She didn't even do anything." I sat there, my hands folded in my lap, pulse racing. For once in my life, they were all looking at me. "Not invisible, not ignored scene." I gave a half shrug. Guess he disagreed. That's when their eyes really burned into me. My sister's fury, my dad's disbelief, my mom's disappointment. I'd wanted attention my whole life. This was not how I thought it would feel. The lawyer kept talking, explaining terms, details, whatever. I barely heard him. All I could hear was the silence around me, heavy with shock and anger. They had spent years laughing at him for looking poor, and now the man they mocked had left behind a fortune, and he'd left it all to me. And in that moment, I realized something. This wasn't going to end here. The bang was still hanging in the room like an echo that didn't know where to go. Nobody moved. My sister stared at the corner, waiting for the camera to fall. It didn't. The little red light just kept glowing, steady and smug. My dad's mouth twitched like he wanted to speak, but forgot how. Why didn't it break? Me sister whispered more to herself than anyone. I didn't answer. Sometimes silence says more than a lecture. Her grip tightened. Another shot cracked through the room. The lamp flickered. The air jolted and still the camera didn't move. She lowered the gun, breathing fast. What is wrong with this thing? Plenty, I said, but not what you think. That's when the footsteps came. Firm, heavy, too controlled to be family. The door burst open and 2 men stepped inside. Not uniforms, not relatives. The kind of presence that arranges the room without asking. Put it down, one said, calm but absolute. My sister flinched, swung the gun toward them, her hand shaking so badly the barrel wavered. Don't make this worse, the other said. On the table now. For a second, she looked like a child mid-tantrum, torn between scream and surrender. Then her wrist gave out. The gun clattered onto the table. One guard snatched it away, slid it out of reach, and cuffed her hands quick and clean. The other put a steady hand on my dad's shoulder. He froze. The room exhaled for the first time in minutes. I looked at my sister, wide-eyed and cornered. Everything's recorded, I said quietly. You're not walking away from this. She glared back, words ready, but useless. And that's where I'll pause and explain. Not to them. To you, because you're probably wondering how I knew, how I wasn't shaking out of my skin when my sister pulled a gun on me, how I sat there steady while my dad played statue. The truth is, I did shake, just not where they could see it. A few days earlier, my younger brother had called me. His voice was tight, nervous. Has Heidi overheard something? My parents and my sister talking. He didn't give details, didn't want to be dragged into it. But he told me enough. Enough that I froze, enough that I knew. I didn't want to believe him. I told myself they'd never go that far. But deep down, I knew what my family was capable of. And I'll admit it, part of me wanted to test them. I've always been like that. When I was a kid, I jumped off sheds with umbrellas just to see if they'd slow me down. Climbed fences because someone told me not to. I like the rush. I like the danger. When you've been invisible your whole life, you chase whatever makes people look at you. So yes, I went because I wanted to see. And because a little piece of me hoped maybe I was wrong. That they'd act like decent human beings for once. That maybe we'd eat mom's sandwiches, bicker about nothing, and call it a day. If they had shown me kindness, maybe I would have shared some of it. Maybe. But I wasn't about to gamble my life on that chance. So I hired professionals. Not the police, private security. 2 men who knew what they were doing. They told me not to go, told me it was reckless, that it wasn't worth it. I said I was going anyway, so they backed me. They went in early, swept the house, set up hidden cameras. While I walked with my family outside, they checked every corner and they found the gun. They didn't take it, they didn't need to. They just made sure it wouldn't fire the way my sister expected. When she pulled that trigger, all she got was sound and smoke. Then they waited outside, ready, listening, watching. So no, it wasn't luck, not a miracle, not fate. It was planned. Every second of it. And now it was them, not me, who were trapped. The legal process crawled the way those things always do. Months of hearings, paperwork, lawyers arguing over words I barely understood. And then finally it was finished. The estate was settled. I was the sole heir. Every last cent was mine. Hearing it spoken in court didn't feel triumphant. It felt strange, like the ground shifted under me, and I was still waiting for balance. For so long, I'd braced myself for someone to take it away. Now there was no one left who could. My family's trails ran parallel to mine. My sister stood in court first, 7 years. The judge didn't mince words. Threatening someone with a firearm leaves no room for excuses. She tried tears, but it was too late. My dad's turn came next. He didn't pull the trigger, but he stood there and let it happen. 2 years. The look on his face said he thought silence was safer. He was wrong. My mom was last. She'd stayed in the background, convinced that would protect her. It didn't. Probation, community service, air accord that would follow her anyway. I didn't celebrate. I didn't feel vindicated watching them be led out of court. I just felt tired. The kind of tired you only get after years of carrying weight you didn't ask for. But underneath the exhaustion was something else. Space. For the first time, there was room to imagine a life that was mine. Not one they dictated. Not one built around being the overlooked child or the scapegoat. A life where I could decide what mattered. When I walked out of that courthouse, the cameras were still running in my head, capturing a different kind of scene. No shouting, no papers shoved across tables, no guns pulled out of handbags, just me stepping forward with nothing and no one holding me back anymore. 5 years later, my life looks completely different. After the trial ended, after the money was finally mine, I did something my younger self never thought possible. I built my own family. I got married. We have a little girl now. From the outside, we look like everyone else. A modest house in a quiet neighborhood. A sensible car in the driveway. Neighbors who chat about the weather and whose kids play in the street. To anyone watching, we're a middle-class family living a middle-class life. But the truth is that money changed everything. Quietly. I used it the way Grandpa would have wanted. Smartly, not loudly. I invested just like he did. I set up a trust fund for me daughter, not to spoil her, but to make sure she'll always be safe when she's grown. For now, she doesn't know how much we have. She doesn't need to. She's busy being a kid, and that's exactly how it should be. I didn't hoard it all for myself either. My younger brother, the one who warned me, got what he deserved too. I paid for his college, cleared his debts, helped him get his first apartment. He never asked, and that's why I trusted him with it. Now he's making his own life, standing on his own 2 feet. As for me, I do spend it. I've traveled the world, Italy, Japan, even the Maldives. I've stayed in beautiful hotels, eaten food that still makes me smile when I think of it. I buy comfort when I want to, freedom when I need it. But when I'm home, I dress simply. I shop at the same grocery store as everyone else. To the outside world, nothing looks unusual. That's the way I like it because I finally understand what Grandpa meant. If people think you're rich, they'll only ever see the money. If they think you're ordinary, you get to live free. I still chase a little adrenaline now and then. Skydiving, scuba diving, climbing mountains, but I do it safely. I've learned how to feed that part of myself without breaking everything else. At the end of the day, I don't need strangers to see wealth on me. I need my daughter to grow up safe, happy, and